Good morning and welcome to Diggin The Grass Roots. You are listening to Rabbit Radio and this is our weekly environmental show. My name's Samantha Morris. I have a couple of lads in the studio with me today from Gold Coast band the Skinwalkers. Say hi, Matty and Lachlan.
How you going?
Hello.
We are going to have a little bit of a chat about their music later on, as well as their involvement with Sea Shepherd, and I'm going to update you on a bunch of environmental news, both locally and globally. But before we do any of that, I'm going to play some music to get your hump day off to a head start. Welcome back. This is Rabbit Radio, Gold Coast's independent, volunteer, presenter-driven radio station. And as I said before, I've got two lads from the band the Skinwalkers in the studio with me. You'll have to pardon us for some minor technical difficulties because there's only two microphones and three of us, so we will do our best. Matt and Lachlan are two of a three-piece band, the Skinwalkers. I did a little bit of research about them last night, and a couple of sites describe their music as punk, rock, metal, which to me is a pretty open kind of description about the kind of music you play. And actually, if you go by iTunes' classification of punk, rock, metal, it can be anything.
Yeah.
that might not necessarily be punk, rock, or metal. So, firstly, what drove you guys to form a band here on the Gold Coast?
Well, it started off, we all played in bands with one another, and certain circumstances occurred in a particular band, and it pretty much just left with the three of us. So from then we were on a good roll with what we had, and we didn't want to stop doing that.
And how long have you been actually playing together as the Skinwalkers?
Coming up to 4 years.
Yeah, something like
maybe 3.5 now.
Yeah, we've been around since, well, to the public since about February of 2009, so...
Okay. Yeah, you both look kind of young to me, so you've been playing together with Skinwalkers for 4 years. So before that, did you go to school here on the Gold Coast? Or?
Yeah.
I'm actually not from the Gold Coast.
Oh.
I'll call myself a half caste, being that I am from Logan, so... No.
Halfway between.
Most definitely a half caste coastie. So tell us a little bit about the genre of music that you play then.
Well, we don't particularly have a genre for what we play or what we consider.
No, punk rock metal might not be open enough.
No, but even what we do play, we kind of like to stay away from what we think it sounds like or what it actually is. So.
It's quite difficult for young bands like yourselves. Well, firstly, I hate that question of like, who are your influences? Because really, it nearly becomes like every single song you listen to influences you in some way, because you either love it or you hate it, or there's something that you want to pull from it. And it's really easy to get pigeonholed by saying, oh, we love the Ramones, and it's like, for this band influenced by the Ramones. Blah,
yeah.
blah.
And then you become the next band.
The next Ramones.
All the Ramones fans are going to come to the show and see.
Do you sound anything like the Ramones? I do like the Ramones.
I don't think so.
No, you don't need to count in each song with 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, no. But then again, someone would probably go, oh, that reminds me of Ramones.
Yeah, someone will still find things that they can relate to. So we've been called heaps of bands already, like in terms of relatability. So it's not like there's already that sort of thing going on. It's just we don't try and define what we are. We just play our music as we want to play it, and if it changes, it changes. And song to song, it does change. So we just kind of like that free exploration of our expression. So you brought some of your songs in. We're going to listen to a couple of those in a minute, but one of the main reasons you're in here, because we, of course, being a radio station, we play music all the time, but you guys have a really unique kind of approach to the impact that you have on people's social awareness and environmental awareness. You've been doing a bunch of volunteer work and helping Sea Shepherd kind of raise their profile, and have got involved in a bunch of their events, so we're going to chat about that as well. But why do you think, a lot of bands kind of write songs, play music, don't kind of care what's going on out there in the big world. Why do you guys have this special interest in the environment and social kind of, well-being of the community?
I think we have sort of an obligation to do something with our music, not just by playing it, but by at least approaching it in a way that it connects with everyone. So
yeah, I mean, how it's one of those things where I guess for us we wonder how we wouldn't do that, I guess, now, looking back on it. Like, we all feel very passionately, at least, as human beings, you know, living on Earth and all the rest of it, that, you know, there are certain aspects to life that we can help to improve upon, and certain aspects that people should be, as a community, getting together on, and, you know, helping to see good change and, you know, more happiness, I guess. So we're just trying to get that message across and spread awareness on key issues that do matter to people, because they matter to us. So
great. Well, we're going to come back and have a chat about what you think some of those issues are.
Sure.
At the beginning of the show, I played Weezer's song Hash Pipe, and I'm actually going to play a new track by Dinosaur Jr. This is Pierce the Morning. That was Dinosaur Jr. and Pierce the Morning Rain. I have played quite a few Dinosaur Jr. tracks on my radio show. Apologies to all my friends who hear way too much Dinosaur Jr. already, but they're actually coming to the Gold Coast in March next year, playing at the Coolangatta Hotel with their original lineup, J. Lou and Murph. So keep an eye out for the gig guides and make sure you get along to see them, especially you guys if you've never seen them before. Have you seen Dinosaur Jr. live?
No.
Right, well, as punk rock metal fiends, you've got to go see them, because they were out there in the 80s influencing the genres of music that we really appreciate now.
Yeah,
otherwise we'd still have four-piece harmonised guitar bands.
Yeah, Forefathers are one of my favourite drum beats, actually.
So, you're listening to Rabbit Radio, Diggin The Grass Roots, and I'm with Matty and Lachlan from the Skinwalkers. And during that break, which is why we were a little bit lacklustre coming back to the microphones, we were having a chat about how these guys actually started to develop a little bit of a social awareness around community issues, I guess you would say. And Matty was telling me that the first issue that really struck them as young men was homelessness. So Matt, tell me a little bit about how you discovered, you kind of come out of school, the world's all rosy, and then all of a sudden it's like you stumble, it's like you trip over homelessness, right? It's like, oh my God, this is a really big issue.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
Oh, I think it was literally something we did sort of stumble upon, you know, like, we literally just got a documentary that was being given out for free at a video shop locally. And I just went, let's watch that, you know, why would they give a video out for free? Just, I'm going to get that. So, you know, we went and watched the movie, and then, complete life-flipping situation where you just sort of realise a whole heap of groundbreaking truths that you didn't know before.
So what did you find out about homelessness that struck a chord with you?
That at the time there were about 32,000 kids beneath the age of 25 that were on the streets of Australia without shelter, without food, you know, and obviously there's people out there fighting for them, and that's a lot of what that documentary Oasis that we watched was about. And we just weren't aware of those sorts of figures or how that worked or what it really meant, I guess, because we weren't exposed to that information.
32,000 young people, basically.
Sadly, that was then.
Yeah.
It's only increased now.
So if you think about a big music festival like Big Day Out or Harvest, you know, that gets about 30,000 people at it, that's the actual volume of young people who are living on the streets back then.
That's true.
Yeah. And so you stumbled across this issue, and you were just saying that you went down to Sydney with a video camera, and what did you do down there?
Well, we went down there with the intention of releasing a song that we'd written called We Are the Streets, which was written and inspired by what we'd seen on youth homelessness. And we wanted to just continue with that, so we went down there and we met with Paul Moulds, Captain Paul Moulds, now Major Paul Moulds, the Salvation Army, and he was looking after Oasis at the time. And he was also one of the leading figures in the documentary and helping these kids. So we met with him and the group there and worked with the homeless kids through music projects. They run a small independent radio station there. It was really good to see that they're using music to help these kids and get them involved in something else. So we played out the front of the shelter there, and that was awesome.
Yeah,
and filmed a lot of the experiences of talking to these guys and them sharing their stories with us, and I suppose that's really been part of the inspiration that's led us to where we are now.
Yeah. And Lachlan, were you, Lockie's okay, were you also down there for that Sydney trip, or did you come along a little bit later?
No, I was actually involved with that.
Every step of the way.
Unfortunately, we didn't have our lineup that we do now, the original lineup, but that's besides the point. But no, when we were down there, it was you took every day differently, and you kept learning things just being around people who are extremely less fortunate than you are, and it's just the amount of knowledge that they have, the amount of concern they have for their well-being as well was, mind-blowing. But
yeah, it's a really tough issue, homelessness, because I think lots of people, the great unwashed, see homelessness as being, to some extent, like a choice that people make. But I know from my exposure to homelessness that most of those people have been kind of marginalised by society to start with. The number of Indigenous people who are homeless is much larger than white Australians. The number of people who have mental health issues is much larger. And it's really hard. It's nearly like an invisible problem.
Yeah, but it feels as though like those sorts of factors sort of come back to other key issues that relate back to the way, not only the government but the economy, the society holds these views and sees these people. So I think it's something of an everyone thing as well, where not only the issue has to be addressed and people have to do something about it, but the perspective has to change. We have to get to a point where people can understand the value between each human is real and it should be equal.
Yeah.
So we should all be looking to see equality for each other, and that means not one person is left behind.
So we're going to play one of your songs now. Sure. Everyone Has a Story, which is probably quite fitting for a conversation around homelessness. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this track before we play it?
Sure.
Yeah, well, this is one of our singles we've just released. On the back of that, we're working with a lot of people from around the world, putting together interviews, particularly just about their story. And this song is, it is a message for those who need that boost, but at the same time, just don't be afraid to express your story.
Great. Okay, let's take a listen, guys. Welcome back to Rabbit Radio. Just a quick public service announcement. If you are listening in, please remember, Rabbit Radio is driven by subscriptions. That means yours. And if you haven't subscribed yet, we rely on your contributions to keep all of these wonderful shows coming to you across the airwaves. Speaking of which, later today, we've got Elodie coming in with the French cook-up. The Style Rabbits are going to be in Dr. Frankenstein. Sorry, Freddie. Funkenstein, not Frankenstein. The Kids in the Burrow and the Freak Scene are all happening later today. It's a full day of shows. Please listen in, www.rabbitradio.com.au. And that track I just played was by the Skinwalkers, who I have with me here in the studio. The song is called Everyone Has a Story. And Matty, you guys are playing a show in a few weeks. Do you want to tell me about that show?
Yeah, sure. We are playing on the 14th of December at the Coolangatta Hotel with the Datsuns. Now, we're pretty pumped to play.
So the Datsuns have actually been like on stage with Metallica. They've played the main stage of Big Day Out. So you're excited to be sharing a stage with them?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I suppose those points are definitely valid, but I seen an interview this morning in their ethic as a band and their ability to work with themselves, and something they were saying a lot about how their music is being allowed to evolve within their own group and stuff. That's cool. So I'm looking forward to meeting them and just seeing what the whole experience is going to be like. So yeah, on the whole, it's going to be good fun.
That's
but
great.
Yeah, I think the whole thing we're playing first, obviously, and we're the only band on though, so yeah, got a nice long set to get everybody warmed up.
So it's at the Cooley Hotel?
Yes.
What date?
14th of December,
14th of December, Cooley Hotel. Tickets, Coolangatta Hotel have tickets available on their website from memory. So if you want some information, jump onto their website. We'll pop a link on the Rabbit Radio Facebook page as well. And if you liked that track, Everyone Has a Story from the Skinwalkers, it's available on iTunes along with a bunch of their other songs, which we will play some of very shortly. I was interested, well actually the way you guys tricked me into coming into the studio and being interviewed today was by name dropping Sea Shepherd. Because of course this is an environmental program. So you have been drawn, I guess, to a bunch of social and environmental issues, and this has led to this recent connection with Sea Shepherd here on the Gold Coast. Do you want to tell me about how that connection came into being?
Yeah. I'll fill it in. I think it really started for us with these interviews and everything that we were doing when we were reaching out to different groups and movements and causes and people that, fit what we wanted to talk about, and definitely had a message to share that we cared about as well. When we started doing that, Sea Shepherd were one of the people we contacted, but we heard back pretty quickly from them. They're set up all across Australia and across the world, so their volunteers came back to us pretty quickly, and we ended up being invited to go to their annual fundraiser, the Ocean Rhapsody, I think it was called. It was at Melbourne here on the coast. But we went to that and got to hear Peter Hammerstead talk about what's going on. And, all of them have a big get together, I guess, on the cause, and that was opening for us to start to meet these people and share the experience, I guess. So since then, they attended our show at the Sunshine Coast over the weekend. It was really good to have them there. It's really interesting as well, I guess, for a band and doing what we're doing. It adds another dimension to music and to shows and to things like that, where you can bring other aspects forward. But now, we're just really interested because of what Sea Shepherd's doing. I mean, their care towards the oceans, the wildlife, and in certain projects that affect us even just locally here, like what's going on with the terminal.
Yeah, so on that topic, the terminal, what's your personal opinion or perspective? That's helpful, it's 9:30. What's your personal opinion or perspective on this proposal for a cruise ship terminal? Where do you guys stand as a band?
I'm totally against it, but that's only being particularly because I don't think coastline like the Spit particularly should be touched, being that it brings so much local history, and destroying it would take absolutely all of that away. And I'm not a complete authority on the information, but a large square mileage area of ocean seagrass that will completely decimate the sea turtles and dugongs and the sea life there, and that's not something that can stand. I know that they've tried to place it in a lot of different places across the coastline, but all in all, I don't think putting a ship terminal in the middle of our beautiful coast is a good idea.
It's a bizarre twist of logic, isn't it? It's like, we have such a beautiful coastline, we should bring people here on a cruise ship, and then we'll spoil the coastline and they'll just go to a casino instead.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing. They're going to turn us into a Vegas strip here, and that takes away our home.
Yes,
so we've got a bit of a stake in this as locals. So apart from that, everything that they're doing, and our ability to want to keep fighting for those causes as well. That's what's driving us, I guess. And
of course, Sea Shepherd have been vocal. They've been one of the organisations that's been involved from actually dating back to 5 or 6 years ago when this cruise ship terminal proposal first surfaced under a Labor government, and now of course it's been reinvigorated by this Conservative government. But they have been there every step of the way, talking about the impact that this cruise ship terminal or any development of the Spit would have on marine life, and I guess that's the whole focus of Sea Shepherd is to protect the oceans and to protect the habitats that come with that. And I had a quick look on their webpage for people that don't know. Some of their current campaigns are around dolphins, the Galapagos Island seals, which of course has been Sea Shepherd's focus from day one, sharks and whales. So many of those issues affect us here on the Gold Coast, especially the marine mammals one.
Yes.
And if you're interested in Sea Shepherd on the Gold Coast, so Sea Shepherd's global. They don't have a branch in every coastal town or city. Where they do have a branch, it's usually a good indication of a really passionate coastal community who's worried about the environment. So we should be proud that we have a Sea Shepherd branch here. And they have a Facebook page, they've got a website, there's a bunch of online resources. So if you want more information about them, check them out. So I reckon we should play another song of you guys.
Okay.
What do you have for us next, and what can you tell us about it?
Okay, well, I guess I just have to choose something, wouldn't I?
Well, this will be interesting, talking and choosing a song at the same time.
Well, this is, I guess, the joy of doing online radio, to go through and choose a song. So, what should we hear? Maybe something a little further back? Or
yeah, sure. I reckon take him old school.
Yeah, okay. I can do that.
We can...
I'm just going to keep searching. Let's pick a song, dude. Do we want to go back all the way, or do we want to go back Fall or Resist, maybe?
Give him the Streets.
Alright, let's give him Streets.
Good,
This is the song. Yeah, this is the song that we did write about the youth homelessness issue, and where we started getting moved by that. So anyway, here's We
Great.
Are The Streets.
We are The Streets from the Skinwalkers, who I'm very lucky to have with me here in the studio today. Matty and Lachlan, you were telling me a funny story about this gig you just did at the Sunshine Coast, and someone came up to you about that song. You want to tell us about that?
It was just on the night. Like, obviously, we don't always play We Are The Streets because we've had so much new material coming through, and every now and then it hasn't made it into the set, but it's actually been like a staple of every show we've played for like since the song came out. So we ended up playing it because we had a nice long set list at the Kings Beach Tavern over the weekend, and we really enjoyed that. We had a great night, but we got approached by a couple of people on the night that thought that song was a cover. And they're like, "Oh, you covered that song We Are The Streets?" And I'm like, no, that's ours.
That's great.
And just
Yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, obviously people are hearing the song, so that's a good thing.
And because you've, we found out, I found out last night that you've been getting quite a bit of radio play on Triple Z, which is another independent, not-for-profit radio station in Brisbane. And you've done some interviews. You said you did some interviews with CFM.
Yeah, we did a couple of interviews with Beck Dent.
Yes.
She used to look after Landed Music on Channel 10.
Yeah, okay.
And like on Southern Cross on the TV there, and then she also handled the Landed Music radio station program.
Yeah, okay.
And she interviewed us on there and had to talk to us about the band and what we're doing, and a lot of these issues, and it was good. I mean, it's different to be on major mainstream radio and have our kind of music, which is not usually designated to those radio stations, which is a shame because we should get a good equal flow. But at the same time, it's good to kind of get thrown right in the midst of stuff that we don't sound anything like.
No, because they would have gone from like you to what, Cold Chisel to something.
Yeah, it's just to be a good mix of absolutely bizarre tastes, but that's perfect for us. We like being smack bang in the middle of all of that, so.
You've hit the big time when you're being interviewed on Rabbit Radio, certainly.
Well, no, we actually really like coming in and doing this, like local radio and community stuff. That's really important because it helps to cultivate the community and bring a lot more. What is it that really local vibe? I guess that you get when you actually have radio stations and things like this. It's
I would feel people would appreciate our music more being on an independent style.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess just the fact that it's an independent station, there's so many presenters involved, we all come from different backgrounds, means that you get a lot of diversity, a lot of different opinions, a lot of approaches and stuff like that. Yeah. I know for me, because I grew up here on the Gold Coast, like you guys did, that it's so exciting to have an independent radio station that you can be involved in, because otherwise it's, the Gold Coast has this kind of... people have this opinion of what the Gold Coast is about, and for most of them, Rabbit Radio wouldn't sit in their little picture of the Gold Coast, so it's kind of cool to be involved with something that sits outside that, hey?
Most definitely.
When we first came in, you guys were telling me that, I guess capturing people's stories on video and sharing them with the world has become, I don't want to call it a hobby, because that's probably not the right phrase, but... I guess has become a big interest of yours over recent years.
Yeah.
Well, maybe recent months.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We came up with the idea off the single Everyone Has a Story, like I said before. But it's just something that we really want to stick with, keep doing it, and don't really set a time as to how many people we're going to interview in a certain amount of time, and if we keep it going, and it will eventually turn into something that we can look back and go, wow, we've gathered so much information and been able to share it properly, and that's something we're going to look forward to doing.
And so you put your little camera in your pocket, you hit the road, and you go and find a bunch of people and talk to them about their stories. But some of those people have been quite, I guess, high-profile people. So who are some of the folks that you've interviewed?
Well, we started the first interview that we did, and we've been doing a lot of these actually via Skype, which is interesting because we've never been the most tech-savvy band, I guess, with some of these things. But we're learning, and the editing process and getting it all right. It's definitely a little bit new to us, but we've worked it out, at least down to some form of an art. But we started with a guy called Foster Gamble from the Thrive movement in America, which is a solutions-based movement for all kinds of alternative and greener solutions, I suppose, for things like electricity, water, food, you name it. You know, they've got sectors everywhere. We moved on from there to interviewing a guy called Eagle Spitz from Punk for the Homeless in the UK, which was another Skype one. That was really interesting as well, just his experiences with homelessness over there and working with music to help support, you know, seeing more change with that.
And particularly him being from the other side of the world, he had a vast opinion on a lot of things that we hadn't really picked up on, and even just his stories is something that we weren't expecting. So it was good to get that culture from right across the other side of the globe.
Yeah, he writes a lot of controversial poetry. He wrote us a poem of the experiences for people over in the Middle East and as of part of the UK, the droning, you know, drones that are coming over and UAVs and bombs and things like that. So it's, yeah, he's obviously right, smack bang in the middle of controversy, as he says. So, but the most recent interview that we just did was actually with Australian musician Ben Lee. That was really interesting. We've reached out to quite a few people, and a couple have come back that will, continue and announce and interview as we go. So keep an eye on it. But Ben Lee came back and said that he, would love to sit there and have an interview with us and talk about these things. And it was great from our perspective to see an Australian musician, I guess, who's been there. He's been all the way out, standing there on the arias and done that, but more importantly, been around the world, taking his music around the world, in front of a lot of people. And that's something we're really ambitious towards trying to do ourselves. So to share, I guess, with him on his experiences now coming in that far of a chaotic industry and coming out the other side, a spiritual, aspect to his life and having that come in and him revolving a little bit more of that into his music, that was really cool for us, I guess, because it shows that even through that crazy progression of the mainstream and what you do, you can still come out on the other side
Yeah. And I guess for someone like Ben Lee to share that with you, he's been in the music industry for so long, and to come out the other side, basically a normal person, or with perhaps a little more awareness of his spirituality and the social implications of what he does. That's a pretty good lesson for you guys in a way, hey?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think particularly he's a good role model because I've always seen him as him being a real person. So like, when he is in the position that he is and that he has been in, he's always seems to remain real in some sort of level. So I've always liked him for that.
Yeah. That's great. We're going to come to another song of the Skinwalkers in a moment. So what's coming up in the near future for you guys? You were saying before you've got a bunch of tracks on iTunes. You're hoping to release singles with some regularity now into the future. So what else is on the horizon for the Skinwalkers?
Well, fingers crossed we can really get some good recording time in. We're always on the move for writing and keeping things fresh in the jam room. So it's always a massive bonus if we can get studio time to put our art on the disc.
Totally. We need to get in there soon and do some more vocals anyway, just for some upcoming singles for next year. We've got something pegged for January. We were going to release at the end of this year, but we decided we were just going to push it through to January and
keep it as a little New Year's gift for your fans.
That's it. And we've got a really big major announcement tomorrow. We can announce. So we'll probably have a blog video or some other kind of announcement that we'll put up through our channels tomorrow.
Great. Well, make sure you copy us in so we can share it with the Rabbit Radio listeners.
Yeah, excellent. For
sure. Just one question. I guess this is more out of personal interest than anything else, but you're at an interesting stage in the band's development. You've both been playing music for a long time. Matty, you play the drums, and Lachlan, you're a guitarist and vocalist, and of course your bass player couldn't fit in this little studio. But you're now at that stage in your careers where you're starting to get radio play. People are starting to recognise your songs, even though they think you're playing someone else's covers. But I'm guessing also that you don't make enough money from your music to, as a full-time income. So how do you find that balance between, you want to progress your music, you want to record more, you want to spend more time jamming in the studio and stuff, but you also need to make a living? Like, how do you find that balance as young musicians?
Incredibly difficult.
Probably more so for Matt. I've almost found a balance between work and band work. So, but at times I do find it hard, and I don't. Future plans for careers and all that is also hard to commit to. And particular people encouraging you to, always look forward.
Get a real job. Is that your mum and dad?
Yeah.
So what is your real job?
My real job is playing in a band.
That's good answer. What's your backup job?
My backup job is whatever I get hold of.
Yeah, and what about you?
Yeah, I'm much the same. I mean, I spend most of my time just in the bandness, just living and breathing it. But
Matty's pretty much the hard drive when it comes to through the week. He'll wake up in the morning and sit on that computer for most of the day, and I'll come in, give him a hand where it's needed. But Matt's he's a real probably he's the one that's not afraid of doing the work. Let's put it that way.
He's the arms and legs of the operation. Yeah.
Something like that.
So, Matty, you picked out another song for us. What have you got?
I might have. I'll show it here. What do you think? I think we should play...
It's a very democratic band here.
We are democratic. Well,
Okay.
look, I don't make decisions.
Rage. It's Leaks.
Yeah, okay, that's something.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to play I Don't Believe It?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's do something. That's another one. That's Lenny's new one.
Okay.
So we'll give you that.
So this is Rage?
This is called I Don't Believe It. It's off the first single released this year.
And there's our bass players.
Vocals you're hearing it.
Okay, great.
This is Lenny going hard.
Let's take a listen. That was I Don't Believe It, and as you know, I've had the Skinwalkers in here at the studio with me this morning. Matty and Lachlan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real treat to meet you guys, and particularly to meet some young musicians who are so focused on not just making good music, but actually making an impact in the community with the music that you write and perform. So 14th of December.
Yes.
You guys are playing with the Datsuns.
Yes.
Massive gig, hopefully, down at the Coolangatta Hotel. What a great way to send the year out for you guys. It sounds like particularly the last 6 months has been particularly busy.
Yeah, I think the 6 months following are going to get even busier, so...
Which is brilliant.
Yes.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
You're really passionate about the Spit and the cruise ship terminal, so a big call out to people, if you haven't signed the petition, which is basically calling for the preservation of public space on the Gold Coast, please do that. Get online at saveourspit.com or hop onto Facebook on the Save Our Spit page. You're also extremely passionate about the work of Sea Shepherd, and once again you can visit Sea Shepherd's website, seashepherd.org, and follow the links through to the Gold Coast branch, or you can check out the Gold Coast branch on Facebook. Do you guys have any last parting words for us?
Thank you.
Thank you. That's wow, wonderful manners, hey?
We really appreciate the opportunity to come in and just sort of have a talk about things that do relate back to people. It's good that there are people out there that, like yourself, that are sharing that and allowing for it to happen. So, cheers.
No problem. Lachlan, anything last words from you?
Just keep listening.
And your
subscribe,
your fellow band member, the bassist, what's his name?
Lenny.
So Lenny, if you're listening, I'm really sorry you couldn't join us today, but maybe next time, hey?
Yeah.
So we're going to post a bunch of links to your iTunes music and also the gig at the Coolangatta Hotel, because we would love to see as many Rabbit Radio punters there as possible. And I'm going to come back with a couple of quick news stories to keep you updated on some issues that we've been following on this show in just a minute.